Over the past couple of months, I've put out a couple of video blogs that say something like infidelity belief number 1 or 2 or number 3. And I use that as kind of a tagline to tell you that sometimes we start to believe things that are just not true. We absorb these kind of approaches or belief systems, whether it be in recovery or whether it be about recovery or whether it be about our spouse or our life, and they seem believable. And they kind of entrap us to run away with that belief system, but in reality, they're just not true. And so today I want to tell you the third kind of infidelity belief, if you will, which says, I can want it for my spouse. And I'll be real honest with you as we get going today. I see so many men and women really bottom out who think that they can want it for their spouse, meaning that they can do enough recovery work, they can fix themselves up enough, they can change whatever they need to change about themselves, they can do all the things that are in their power, and that they take this approach that says, I'm going to do all this stuff because I'm going to make them want me, or I'm going to want the marriage enough for both of us. And it absolutely is devastating for both unfaithful and betrayed. One spouse decides they're going to want the relationship so much that they try and want it even for the other spouse that's disengaged. And I will tell you, in upwards of about 80% of the time, those spouses completely crash and burn because they come to the realization that, you know what, I can't want it for them. They have to want it. Now, it would be very hard for me to try and tell you some of what this feels like if I hadn't been through it myself. And I'll tell you, I tried so hard to make Samantha want me. I mean, you name it, I tried it early on. I mean, I tried to fix anything and everything. I tried to kind of mold and shape me into the person that I thought she wanted me to be, that was more committed to, certain personality types, or that was more committed to, trying to be this or that type of person. But the fact was and is, Samantha started to redevelop desire for me when I did a few things, and I'll come back to those. But I will tell you that probably one of the top, most painful situations is when a spouse tries to make their spouse or their partner want them, or takes it upon themselves to say, look, I'm going to want this enough for both of us. Like, I'll do most of the recovery work, and I'll just try and keep them happy, whoever them is, whether it be the unfaithful or the betrayed. And they try and grow their shoulders so wide to think that, you know what, I'm going to carry recovery, but I'm sorry. The fact is, one of the critical elements to a proper recovery is the development of wanting to get healthy. If your spouse doesn't struggle through the process of eventually wanting to get healthy because it's the right thing to do, they're going to be, in many ways, hamstrung by their own inability to want it and their own inability to think clearly for themselves. You can't want it for your spouse or partner. They have to come to the conclusion that they want it themselves, because the more that you push on them, the more that they're going to pull away from you, and the more that you try and control them, the more that they're going to resist you and not want to be controlled, and you're going to find yourself getting more and more frustrated because you're only trying to save the relationship. But the problem is all you can do is focus on you. All you can do is purge yourself. All you can continue to do is allow your own heart and life to be unzipped, explored, dissected, and wrestled with. You can't make your spouse wrestle with themselves. It has to be something that they arrive at on their own. Yes, I can feel you. I can understand your frustration. This hurts like hell. I mean, I pride myself on being pretty committed to willpower and pretty committed to finding a way to get something done. I mean, from the businesses that I've ran to the professional sports and whatnot, I have always been committed to, I'm going to find a way. But I'll tell you, The way that I found a way to see Samantha desire me again was throwing my hands up and saying, both to my heart and to her, I can't make you want me. All I can do is get healthy. All I can do is commit to being the best me that I can be, being responsive to Rick, being responsive because I do come from a faith perspective to what God wants to do in my life, being responsive to the tools and the mechanisms of my recovery that I'm utilizing from reading books and seeing different types of therapists and putting into practice everything that they're telling me to do. All I can do is commit to that process. Ultimately, Samantha, if you don't want me, then I have to be okay with that. I have to be okay with the fact that if I do everything within my power that I can do to get healthy and you decide that you still don't want me, I will have to be okay with that. And my appeal to you today, my friend, is that you cannot want it for your spouse. They are going to have to go through their own vetting out, their own wrestling, their own tears, their own ambivalence. They're going to have to be subjected to the I'm not sures and I don't know and I can't make it on my own and all the different nuances that happen. You're going to have to let go of control, and you are going to have to be okay if they don't want you. That's incredibly challenging. It's devastating, but it's a necessary part of recovery. If you are not able to get to a place eventually where you are okay if they do not want you, then that's a dangerous place. But I'll tell you, you can get there. Because ultimately, you have to get healthy, whether you're betrayed or whether you're unfaithful, for you. I have begged, borrowed, dealed, yelled, screamed, done everything I could for some people to say, think about your kids, think about your job, think about your friends, all these different things. I've tried to use all those different nuances to get people to sober up, come clean, or get out of the dysfunction that they're in. But I'll tell you, nothing has really worked as much as being able to say, look, I can't make you want to get healthy. If you don't want to get healthy, my motivation, my desire, my drive is not enough to keep you healthy. You're going to have to develop your own drive, and if you don't, you're never going to get healthy. Now, this is not an excuse to license ambivalence or apathy. No, it's apathy that gets you in these types of situations to begin with. It's indifference that gets you in this type of a situation to begin with. I had to take the approach that said, you know what? I've got to do what I can do to work on the things that I know that I have to deal with. My defensiveness, my pride, my insecurity, my fear of rejection, my fear of abandonment, and my controlling tendencies. Those were some of the main ones early on that I had to hammer away on. Sure, Samantha was there for feedback, and sure, Rick would ask Samantha for feedback and insight about how I was to live with and all those different things. But ultimately, I was the one that had to say, you know what? I'm committing to do these things, and I want to get everything out of my life that doesn't belong. And it's going to be a process, and it's not going to be overnight, and it's not going to be just this simple little puzzle, but it is going to be a process, and out of that process is going to be the emerging of a man who is healthier and stronger and sober and in touch with himself, in touch with reality, and in touch with his God. And whether or not you come from faith, the reality is you're going to have to get healthy enough to be in touch with yourself, to be in touch with your own recovery, and to be in touch with the person that you want to be so that you can be proud of the person that you are. But you have to do it. You cannot live on simply the desire and the emotion and the commitment of your spouse. You have to develop your own want to. If you don't develop your own want to, I'm going to tell you very boldly, I don't believe your recovery will ever truly flourish.